Okay, everybody, as promised, here is the video. So I need you to be really good listeners to Mr. D-Steph and Mrs. Sikora. Thank you, both of you. And D-Steph, you might want to pause right away and let's make sure everybody's got their packets. And we are on day 7, friends and family. Okay, day 7. Pause the vid. Let's have everybody open their packets and find day 7. Okay, you guys, I'm going to start with something pretty simple. We did a really great job when we learned this in class, but we have to do sum and difference of some functions. And do you remember the way that I taught it was we had like a pink function and we had a green function and we had a red function. Do you remember these? And so what this is telling us, it looks kind of weird. This is called function notation, but it wants you to take the pink function and the green function and add them together. This one, and I'm just going to put a plus sign in the middle, okay? So the pink function, actually, let me get my pink ready to go. Where is pink? Here we go. My pink function is negative 7x plus 3, and it's telling me to add, so I'm going to put plus, and then the g function is green, so I'm going to do 3x minus 8. See the green function right over here, the g, 3x minus 8. And what am I going to do? I'm going to combine like terms. Negative 7x and positive 3x makes negative 4x. And I'm going to take my positive 3 and my negative 8. Don't mind my husband making coffee in the background. And that is all I have to do, you guys. That's the answer. You just add the two functions together. We had a pink one and we had a green one, and that's all we did. So what's the difference between this and this? You can see that there is a subtraction sign here. So for number 2, it's wanting us to take the pink function and subtract the green function. Here's one thing that you have to be really careful of is the pink function, which is this one. I'm going to write negative 7x plus 3. Minus, and be careful because we have to subtract all of this, which means I'm going to put a parentheses right there, okay? The parentheses is going to remind you to distribute the negative sign. So I'm going to put 3x minus 8. So what I've done is I've taken the pink function, which is this one, and I have this minus sign right here, and then it tells me to use the green function next. And what we have to be really careful about is we have to distribute our minus sign. So this is going to stay negative 7x plus 3, and this is going to become negative 3x and positive 8. And now I'm going to combine my like terms. I can combine those to make negative 10x, and I can combine my whole numbers. Positive 3 and positive 8 makes positive 11. That is as much combining as I can do, okay? Let's see. Let me try maybe one more. No, I think that's enough. Let's go to inverse. Okay, we also learned this word. I think we talked about all the different languages we have in this classroom, and we talked about what word for opposite that we used, and that is what inverse means. It means it's the exact opposite of this. And I'm going to put a problem on our note sheet, which I'm going to pause the video and get the note sheets out and get ready to put in a couple examples like that. But when we learned what this notation is, it means opposite or inverse, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to change the f of x into x, and I'm going to change the x into a y and keep everything else in the equation the same. Okay, so step 1 is to write, instead of this, just write x, and then instead of x, we're going to write y. That's the first step, okay? And now all we have to do is get the y by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do now is subtract 5 on both sides. That's what cancels here. I'm trying to get the y by itself. So on the left, I have x minus 5. And now I have y to the third. And do we remember how to undo a cube? How do I get rid of that? It's kind of like a square root, except when it's a cube, you take the cube root of both sides. And remember, that's what gets rid of the exponent. So we are just left with y equals the cube root of x minus 5. And what I want you to take a look of here is that maybe some of these questions are going to be multiple choice, you guys. What is the exact opposite of positive 5? Minus 5. Okay? What is the exact opposite of x to the third? Cube root. We're going to practice some multiple choice questions at the end of class, but if it's multiple choice, I think you guys might be able to just choose the answer that is the exact opposite of the original equation. If you have to actually show what the inverse is, this is how you do it. You change the f of x into x, and you change the x into y. Let's try, that one's kind of similar. Let's try this one. Number 9. The first step, remember, is to just rewrite this with an x. And everything else I'm going to do, I'm going to change the x into a y. I know what you might be thinking. Hey, wait, what? Huh? What's happening? Guys, pay attention here. Okay, listen, you can do this. We're writing f of x. We're just writing x instead. And where you see the x is you're changing it into a y. Okay, that is exactly what we did on this problem. Okay, this is just a set of instructions, and you're going to be able to follow the instructions and look at your note sheet and remember what to do. Okay, now I just have to get the y by itself. So how do I undo this cube root thing? Maybe we're going to cube both sides. That would be my first step, and that is how we get rid of this root here. So now I have x to the third on the left, and I have y minus 81 on the right. And remember, I'm just trying to get y by itself. So how do I get y by itself? Let's cancel the 81 on both sides. Okay, so now I have x to the third and positive 81 equals y. Now I'm done. This is the inverse. And look, again, if it's multiple choice, what's the opposite of minus 81? Plus 81. And what is the opposite of the cube root of x? X cubed. The inverse means opposite. All right, I have one more thing I want to teach you guys. This is something that we learned. It's been a while, but I'm hoping that maybe you remember this tiny little formula right here. And yes, we're going to put it on our note sheet, so just give me a second. But we have this tiny little formula that we learned a really long time ago, and that formula goes with something called the vertex. And I'm pretty sure most of you can take a look at this equation right here and see that because it is an x squared, that means that it is a U shape, or what we call a parabola. Do we remember this? Anything that has an x squared in it is called a parabola. And I drew it pointing up with the arrows pointing up because the x squared is positive. You will see that this example down here, this one is going to be a parabola that points down. And that is because it is negative. Maybe you're nodding your heads, some of you, because maybe you remember talking about this in class, but when we have a positive x squared, the U shape points up. When we have a negative x squared, the U shape points down. And how do we find this thing called the vertex? We're going to put this on our note sheet. This is the last thing that I'm going to remind you about, and then we're going to switch to the note sheet. Mr. D-Steph, maybe you could pause here real quick and walk around and make sure we've all got page 1 filled out for day 7. But if everybody looks good, then what I need you to highlight here or circle is this tiny little formula. And I know from the note sheet we did a couple examples recently, and what we did is we looked at a formula that looked like this. I believe it was called quadratic equation or quadratic formula that we talked about a few days ago. But if you remember that A here is 1, B here is -6, and C is 2, I know we remember that. And if I try to use this teeny tiny little formula with this A, B, and C, I wonder what that's going to look like. So I'm going to write x equals negative. What's the b again? It's -6. Ooh, that's a double negative. Yes, I'm going to write both of them, but yes, it will change to a positive in a second. So this negative I put here, and then b is actually -6, so I put that here. So I have two negatives. Everybody calm down. I'll change it to positive in just a second. And then what's in the denominator? 2 times a. So I need to have a 2, and I need to have whatever a is. A is 1. So I'm going to put a 1 there. Now let's simplify this. -6 is just 6. 2 times 1 is 2. What is 6 divided by 2? Oh, it's 3. Oh, interesting. Okay. So that is interesting. What I have now is I have the x value of the vertex. It's 3. Okay. Number 2 tells me to plug the x value back into the equation to find the y value. Okay. So what this means is the vertex, I'm going to write this here, is 3 comma something. How do I figure out what that is? You take the 3 and you plug it in right there, and you plug it in right there, because that's what x is, okay? So I know we remember doing this. I'm going to take this equation and I'm going to plug the 3 in right there and right there. I'm going to do that down here. 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 2. What is that? 3 squared is 9. 6 times 3 is 18. And that's going to give me negative 9 plus 2, which is negative 7. Boom. There is my vertex, you guys. This is the vertex, okay? And remember a couple things that we talked about. Do you remember the domain? We're going to put what the domain means on the note sheet in just a second, but because this gets wider and wider and wider on both directions, it goes left and right forever. Do you remember how to put left and right forever in math? It's always negative infinity to infinity. But then how do you do the range? So the range goes up forever. It has arrows that go up, but it stops at a certain point. And what is that y value? It's right here, negative 7. So the way I'm going to write my range is I'm going to put negative 7 up forever, okay? Whatever the y value is part of the range, and then it goes up forever. I'm going to do one more example here, and then we're going to flip over to the note sheet, okay? So if you're a little confused about that first example that we did with the parabolas, let's try this one. First of all, I know that it's pointing down because this is negative, okay? The a value is negative. And yeah, this means that A is negative 1, B is negative 4, and C is 7. Okay, no big deal there. Find the coordinate of the vertex. I'm going to do the X and the Y. Okay, so we have this tiny little formula from above, negative B over 2A. So it's going to be negative, what was B again? Oh, negative 4. So again, that's two negatives. Yes, I'll change it to a positive in just a second, but it is negative B. So you're going to put a negative and then whatever B is. And then the denominator is 2 times A. What is A again? A is negative 1, so I'm putting in a negative 1. Okay, what does that simplify to? That would be positive 4 on the top and negative 2 on the bottom, which is negative 2. And that is my X value. I now need to take the X value and I need to plug it in to figure out what my Y value is. If I'm going too fast, Mr. D. Steph can stop while you finish copying. Okay, but now I'm just going to take that negative 2 and I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to show that work down here. I'm going to put negative 2 squared minus 4, negative 2 plus 7. Okay, what am I doing here? I'm taking this negative 2 that I got from using this formula. Yes, we're going to put it on the formula sheet. Okay, I'm taking this negative 2 and I'm plugging it in right there. I wrote it down here and I'm plugging it in right there. See how the negative 2 went in for X there and for X there? Now I just need to clean it up and simplify. So remember, we do exponents first, you guys, and then we make it negative. So negative 2 squared is 4, but then don't forget that negative that's in front. This negative stays, okay? And then I have a negative 4 times negative 2, which makes positive 8. And then I still have this plus 7 out here. Negative 4 plus 8 is 4, plus 7 is 11. That is the Y value of my vertex. Yeah, there's a lot of work that you have to do to find these, but remember, you get 7 points on the Harper test for showing all of your work. And you're going to see in just a second on your note sheet, you're going to be able to look at these and do step-by-step instructions, okay? The domain, what did we do up here? The domain, oh, I should write this on the note sheet also, is this. It goes left and right forever. Even though it's going down, it's still getting wider and wider and wider. So it goes left and right forever. The domain for parabolas is always negative infinity to infinity. What's the range? Let's talk about this. It goes down forever, so that means negative infinity, but it stops at a certain point. What is that Y value? The tallest point there is 11. Okay, so this one goes down, so it's going to be negative infinity because negative numbers always go first when you write interval notation, and then whatever this Y value is goes there. The top point is 11. Okay, just like this one, remember we found the vertex using that formula, and then the domain here we used the Y value. And this one is positive infinity because it goes up forever. This one is different. It starts with negative infinity because it goes down forever, and it goes up until the Y value of the vertex. Okay, Let's pause the video. Let's take out the note sheet. I have 4 little sections that I want to fill in. Yes, I know that we will have a few things left like this. And I also know, you guys, that those are on those practice tests that I'm giving you. That's okay. Do your best, and we can figure out what you need help with as soon as I come back, okay? Everybody's going to be fine. All right, do you see what I have highlighted here in blue? This is what we're focusing on today. This looks very familiar because these are the problems that we just talked about, so I'm actually going to start there, okay? So remember, here's what the A is, here's what the B is, here's what the C is. So that's what we started with when we did those 2 examples that you just finished. Okay, and look, this beautiful tiny little formula that we just used in order to find the X value, that's what we did first. And remember, then we found a number, and then we had to figure out what the Y value is. So this is what went first, and then we plugged this into the X. Okay, that's exactly what I wrote right here. Plug the X value that you find using this formula into the function, that means the original equation, and then find the Y value. Okay, so I'm going to do an example just like we did in the notes, but it's going to be right here. A is -1, B is -8, C is 1/5. Okay, that's weird that it's a fraction, but it's okay. This is the A value, this is the B value, this is the C value. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use that formula, -b over 2a. I'm looking right here. Look, it says number 1. What's the first thing we do? We use this. This is the formula. Okay, so I'm going to take -b, I'm going to plug it in right there, and I'm going to take the A and plug it in right there. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is it says -b, but b is -8. So yes, that's a double negative. I will change it in a second. 2 times A is -1. That makes +8 over -2, which is -4. Okay? Now remember, I need to plug that in to find the Y value. I wonder if this was multiple choice, you guys. Maybe only one of the answers will have that as the X value. Just keep that in mind, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the -4 and I'm going to plug it in right here. And I'm going to plug it in right here. I'll do that down here. -4 squared minus 8 times -4 plus 1/5. Okay, so remember we're going to do exponents first. -4 squared is 16, and then make it negative. Remember, if this negative sign is out front, it stays. Okay, when you square -4, it becomes +16. This number stays. -8 times -4 is +32. And plus 1/5, okay? You can crunch that into a calculator. -16 plus 32 is 16, and then plus 1/5 is actually 16 and 1/5, or 16.2 if you use a calculator. I'm going to put that right here, 16.2. Okay, no big deal. How do we figure out what the vertex is again? Oh, I just found that. It's this. -4, 16.2. What's the domain? Oh, I forgot. Every single domain for parabolas is -infinity to infinity. This one looks like this. And remember, it looks like that because this is negative. Okay? And so what is the range? Since it goes down forever, we are going to start with -infinity because negative numbers have to go first. And it goes up until, what is the Y value here again? 16.2. Okay. Beautiful. Let's talk about domain and range. I'm going to just remind you the domain is all of the X values. What that means is left and right. Okay? The range is all of the Y values. That means up and down. Okay? Is it a function? You're going to answer either yes or no. And here's how you tell. As long as the X values do not repeat, so no X values repeat. Remember, if you're given a bunch of ordered pairs, you just look at the X values, and if any of them are repeated, then you say no. And if none of the X values repeat, that means yes. As long as you do not have any x values that are repeating, then yes, it is a function. Okay, the vertical line test, I'm going to give you a couple examples here. So if we have something that looks like a line, that is yes. If we have something that looks like a parabola, that is yes. If we have something that looks like a circle, this is no. And I wonder if you guys remember how to do this. These were really simple in when we had like quizzes and tests over this stuff. But remember this thing called the vertical line test? If you draw a vertical line across your graph anywhere, you just need to make sure that it does not touch the graph 2 times, okay? So that's why this one is yes. This one, if you draw a vertical line over the graph anywhere, it only touches the graph 1 time, so that's why it's a yes. But here, if you take a vertical line, it touches the circle in 2 places. That is bad. So I'm going to put a frowny face. That is why no, that is not a function. Okay. Last one, do you remember how to find the inverse? First of all, what we do is we change this into x and we change this into y, and we keep everything else the same. I think we did this exact example, okay? Now what I need to do is I need to get y all by itself. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to subtract the 8 on both sides. And I've got x minus 8 equals y to the 3rd. How do you get rid of y to the 3rd? You have to root it, but it has to be a cube root to get rid of the 3 exponent, okay? That's what gets rid of this 3 exponent. And so I have y left over, and that's what I wanted, was just to get y by itself. And now I have the cube root of x minus 8. And that is the inverse. And just remember that the opposite of plus 8 is minus 8, and the opposite of x to the 3rd is cube root of x. So if this were multiple choice, maybe you could just choose the right answer right away. Okay? I'll have Mr. DStuff pause here so that you can copy down anything that you missed out of these 4 boxes. And almost all of your cheat sheet or your note sheet is now filled out. We will fill in these last 3 yellow highlighted things when I return after you finish your second part of your practice test, which is going to be tomorrow. Okay, you do have to finish the practice test tomorrow. I have a second half for you, and anything that you don't know how to do, just do your best. And that will tell me what you need help with over these next couple days to get ready for Harper. What I want you to do after Mr. DStuff is done checking to make sure you have everything on your note sheet filled out is I'm going to go back to the packet. And what I want you to do is I want you to start here, and I want you to work your way down because there's a bunch of just multiple choice questions here. This is exactly where I left off. And you're going to keep working on these, and then you can work with people around you and check and see if you can get the same answers, okay? And you can stop here, but that is what I want you to work on, is to finish day 7 in your packet. You can work with people around you. You can ask Mr. DStuff or Mrs. Sikora for help, but make sure your note sheet is perfectly filled out, minus those 3 boxes that we have that I highlighted in yellow, and then continue working on the day 7 practice problems in groups or with a partner or by yourself. I will check them when I get back, and you have the second day of the practice test to do tomorrow in class with your note sheet. All right, Mr. DStuff, please don't forget to collect the note sheets so that nobody loses them after they're done filling them out. And I will have the sub give them back out with the practice test tomorrow. You guys, if you need any help with anything, ask Mrs. Sikora or send me an email, and I will see you very soon. Thanks for watching.